Hello, my name is Alexander Morari, and I'm the founder of ITKeyMedia. You've tuned into our podcast about Central and Eastern European startups that are in pre-Series A stage. Our guest today is Vedran Cindrić, the co-founder of Treblle. This is pronounced as Treblle, Treblle. This is an API management platform, and they say Treblle makes it super easy to understand what's going on with your APIs and the apps that use them. Zdravo, Vedran.
Hi, how are you? Zdravo I tebi, Bok.
Yes, I agree, whatever you say there. As a quick intro, look, in an article on our website, ITKeyMedia, so the author there, Emmanuel, the creative guy, said APIs are the future of what? Of pretty everything. Would you agree with that? Yep. And why?
I do agree with that. APIs are currently everywhere, and they will be absolutely even in more places as time goes by. It's just an exploding space. Everybody's using it, and mostly the reason behind that is actually because you have so many devices that are interconnected and talking to the same database or to the same server. So you've got phones, you've got smart TVs, you've got smart bulbs, everything around you is actually talking to an API. So the more devices we have, like watches, websites, apps, IoT devices, cars, everything uses APIs. So that trend is just going to go up and up.
Yes, then follow-up question, what is an API?
So, I mean, essentially, it's I'm not going to go into the full tech explanation. That is a shortcut for a short term for application programming interface. And in a nutshell, an API is used to communicate and transfer information between a client. So again, a client could be anything from a mobile phone, app, IoT device, and a server, or in most cases, a database. So essentially, it's what sits between you when you look at your phone and the server where it's being processed.
Okay, and it allows to use the same set of data in a JSON or otherwise, right? I understand. Allows to use it in different interface.
Exactly. So basically, you could have your banking, like the most popular example I give is the banking app and banking ecosystem. So you use a mobile banking app on your phone, and then that same API is used on the web. So it could be used on the web or on an Android app or an iOS app. So you write it once, and it can be used on anything you want, essentially any platform that you want or need.
Yeah, okay. Vedran, let's move on to the scenario, round one, solution product. And before you describe your own product and we jump into the product itself and you'll share the screen, where's the pain point? Why did you decide to put together a company like that and close your, I understand, successful design company?
Agency. So for people who don't know, like we used to run a web development company in Croatia, and we used to have a lot of clients, mostly all over the world. And what we focused for the past, I would say 5 to 8 years, was building apps and APIs. So the reason why we built Treblle is because we had a lot of work on that front, and that was made even more complicated by working with other teams remotely in other time zones. So for example, we would find ourselves building the API and somebody else would build a client like an Android app or an iOS app. So we would kind of lose a lot of time on writing, updating documentation, providing integration support to them, debugging what they're doing, helping them understand some of those things. And then you've got, of course, whenever an app isn't working, the first thing that anybody asks is probably the API, right? Because that's the only thing they don't see. So we kind of built Treblle to help us address some of those problems and be more efficient and essentially, make our life easier on a daily basis.
So amazing. When I wanted to ask about the pain points, so the key pain point was in your own processes, right?
Exactly.
It's a good start for any company, of course, to resolve your own operational pain points, bottlenecks, and so on. Vedran, let's jump into the product itself and have a couple of screens shared by you. Okay. So Vedran, here is the stage, and here is the mic, and here's the screen. Take us through the product then. Over to you.
Yeah, so I'm just going to do it briefly. I'm not going to go through the full rundown, but basically on the left of my screen is my browser window, and on the right of my screen is just a simple app that we've built for demo purposes. So if I log into my Treblle account, I can see a bunch of my projects. Most of them are live. These are all live API endpoints. Like, for example, this one has 160,000 requests. But the one that we're actually interested in is the called Treblle blog API. So it's really simple. On the right side, I'm going to press login. So what the app is going to do is it's simply going to log in into the app and let me in. And on the left side, you see it made 2 requests. So if I click on, for example, the article, how does Treblle or let's say, what can Treblle do for backend developers? If I click on that, it's actually making an API request in the background, and you can see that API request appearing on the left side. So essentially, these things happen in real time. As I open them, you can see on the left side, again, they start to pop up. So if we take a look at one of those requests, one of the things that the app did is, of course, authenticated the user. So you saw me type in the email and the password, and Treblle is smart enough to know that password is a very sensitive field. So we encrypt it at rest, meaning we don't expose that. Treblle never knows that information, and you can define all of those fields. So you get the full request data and response data. So you know what the app sent or the user entered and what the app got. Alongside that, you get a lot of information about the device itself. So we know that I'm running the latest version of iOS. This is the app's name. This is what the app is using to make the request. This is, of course, my location. I'm in Zagreb, Croatia. So Treblle knows all of that. It knows that this was made from an iOS device. It also knows that there was that the API had authentication enabled, what that was. And more importantly, it could generate documentation instantly. So I don't have to write anything. I don't have to update anything. As soon as one request is made, the documentation is generated. And more importantly, you can view it with anybody you can share it with anybody you want. And you can also open it in Swagger or Open API spec, if you will. And there are a couple of more cool features, like we provide analytics and scoring data, so we can get the score and quality of this API. And you can also do things like instead of manually having to retest things, you can just click a button, make a test. Treblle knows everything that this API needs to have in order to be completed. It will run that test, and you can see the details of that test with one click. Usually some of these things that I showed you would have taken weeks or days or hours. And more importantly, if you're debugging things, some of these things you could never figure out. So we don't have any errors on this API, but maybe I can find, for example, one of them that has some problems. As you can see, you get all the problems, why the problem occurred, which line of code, and everything else. And again, when you have a lot of data, this is still early stages, but you get complete analytics for your API, everything from locations, usage, days, and so on, and so forth. And the best thing, again, it's meant for everybody, for teams, right? So you can invite your team members just by copy pasting their email address. They get an invite, and they instantly have access to Treblle, and they can instantly see what is going on.
Yeah, I like the flow. I like the layout of this, and it seems even to me, who I will admit, I maybe saw any API related products like live and so on, maybe 2 times during all my life. I like it already. And you mentioned some part of this might take a week or weeks basically to produce results. And what's that?
So basically, one of the reasons why we kind of made this was because of documentation. So if you have like a really big API, this one has 20 endpoints. If you are handing off the API to a developer, like an iOS developer or an Android developer, you have to tell them, this is how you access the API. This is how you do authentication. This is how you get the articles. This is what you need to send. This is what you can expect. You need to write absolutely everything down. And here, Treblle literally does everything for you. So I would have had to written all of this manually. And what's worse, I would have had to update that every time we changed something. So if I wanted to change this from a Boolean to a string, I would have to manually go in and update that. With Treblle, as soon as a new API request is made, we update that and you're done. And it works for absolutely any API endpoint. And again, like I showed you, more importantly, you can take it out into OpenAPI spec and open it in Swagger, and you're done. Essentially, everything here that you see is done for you. You don't have to do anything. That is probably 50% of the reason why we decided to build Treblle, right? To help us with these documentation issues. And the second part was actually one of the things that you mentioned, right? This is super clear to anybody in the tech space, be it a CEO, a CTO, an iOS developer, or an API developer. Everybody understands what is going on. And I think one of the pain points of the API when you talk to developers, especially the ones who are integrating the APIs, is the fact that they don't see what is going on. So whenever you give this to a iOS developer, an Android developer, and they see that request appear in real time, they're blown away because they can finally see what they're sending and what they're getting back.
I cannot fly away just because I'm glued to the screen right now,
Okay, cool.
being the non-tech kind of guy, right? So one question. Yeah. So you have there this summary with this bearded guy, not sure whether to drink this beverage or not. Anyways, so take me through this.
Okay, let's take a look at a project that is actually running live, right? So let's take a look at these. This one has a couple of, So one of the pain points that we saw, this is actually the scoring part, is actually something that was requested by a lot of our clients who are not as technical. So as you can imagine, we had a lot of clients all around the world who might not understand everything, but had an idea, right? And they came to us and said, okay, you guys will build me the API, the backend, the database, and I have somebody else who's going to build the clients, like an Android app, a phone app, or whatever, right? One of the things that they never were able to figure out is, if something is slow on the app or on the phone or whatever we're building, they were not sure, is it the API, is it the app? And oftentimes they would ask me, hey, Vedran, can you check out why is this slow? Is it like on your side? Is it on the API side? So we'll build this scoring check, which kind of rates your API based on some of the common standards in the REST community. So essentially, we evaluate performance, security, and quality of your API on every single API request, which is the key line here. So we monitor and log everything that happens on your API. There's no lying, there's no nothing, right? So if you did a bad job, everybody's going to see it here, and everybody's going to know exactly what that problem is. So if we take a look at an API that might have some problems like this one, we can see that it's actually being a bit slow. So if we go to the scoring part, we can see that the performance is very bad. It's not using some of the things that it should, like HTTP2, and it's very slow to respond. But then again, they are doing some other things, right? Like HTTPS support, they have authentication, and on the quality side, they have very low number of problems and use versioning and JSON. Again, we're going to be expanding on these. This is just the start. But what we're trying to do is make sure that we can rate the quality of an API for somebody who doesn't know whether or not they're getting a good API without the complexity of going in and seeing all the code and watching, just not knowing what's going on. So again, this is in real time. It changes as requests are made.
Yes, amazing. Vedran, here's a question. Do you plan, or have you introduced already, any kind of a feedback loop into the system so that I, being a rookie or just a beginner, let's say in API kind of space, I'm doing something wrong, and then the system itself will guide me through my mistakes and suggest corrections without human interaction?
So we are doing some of that. Like I said, if you make an error, if something bad happens, we'll show you exactly what you did wrong and what you should have done correctly, right? So that's number one. And you can always use Treblle to see what you did incorrectly. Part of the reason why it's always kind of been hard to decipher what is wrong and what you did incorrectly is because you never saw it, right? When you talk to a lot of these app developers who integrate APIs, they never know if they're sending correct data, if they wrapped or unwrapped a string or a value. And sometimes, things like that can happen and mistakes happen. So we are trying to do everything we can to automate that process. We report errors. And more importantly, like I said, we allow you to see what was sent. And if you're still not sure, you can communicate with your team inside of the platform, right? So if I wanted to, I can mention a developer here. I can ask him, hey, what did I do wrong, right? And that stays as a comment right here, and everybody can see it. He can answer it. If you need to share this request with somebody else, let's say another developer, you could just copy this link, and I'll just open a new private window. You can paste it in, and they have instant access to only this request. So if it's somebody outside of your trusted circle, you can share them only that request and tell them, okay, as you can see, you sent only the user parameter, but not something else.
Yeah, you could see it because you're not logged in back there.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
So Vedran, just to round up, I understand with this, if we take into consideration this work on errors or error correction or error, should we say, identification, let's say.
Exactly.
So people used to be looking for a needle in a haystack, in a room, in a dark room, and you are the one who comes in, turns on the light, and gives a very strong magnet to immediately find the needle, in a way.
Exactly. You are 100% sure, because again, one of the interesting things that's happening in the API space is that when you think of an error, right, every developer is going to say, okay, something bad happened on a code level, like this. For example, this is an error that actually caused a crash to happen. But when you think about it, this is actually in APIs and in development, this is actually probably one of the least things that occurs, right? What happens more often than not is it's the data that gets sent, right? So the problem isn't the code, but for example, you never know why somebody sent this value or somebody mistyped a phone number. And that's the type of errors that get missed, right? Because you never knew what was going on. So for example, if you had a problem on this API, and I don't know, let's find something. Let's say we wanted to search all API requests made with this method right here. So I could say something like, find me all the API requests where that particular set of text was entered. So as you can see, it found every single request, and we see it was made from India and the second one from United States. So it has a very powerful mechanism that allows you to search for certain parts of the text that help you debug some of the harder problems that usually aren't solved quickly. And you can even filter by anything, right? So I could start typing India. We can find requests from India within like the last this week, with comments, without comments, from iOS, Android. So you can do a lot of things to help you debug what happened essentially.
Vedran, yes, thanks. Let's move on to next round 2, the competitors. Okay. So imagine you are in a boxing ring, and who are you afraid of in this boxing ring?
I mean, we're not actually afraid of a lot of. I don't think we're afraid of anybody, because
who would you like to learn from then?
Yeah, we learn a lot from a lot of big companies like AWS and Azure, Microsoft. All of them are doing something similar, but not on this level. There are a couple of, I would say that our most direct competitor is actually a company from the United States called Mosif. They actually do something similar to what we do, but without the automatically generated documentation aspect, quality scoring, testing, or anything. They just do logging, but you can filter it, you can sort it, and it looks better than whatever AWS and Azure has. The problem with these dev tools is they're usually designed for developers. And you have to understand that not every developer understands log files, understands how to read them, right? So your average backend developer can, but nobody else, not even a mobile developer, not even a front-end developer. So if you're designing and developing products just for backend developers, then you're kind of, screwed. But we wanted to kind of do the entire team, and we wanted to help the entire team. So nobody's doing something similar to us, again, except Mosif. And I think there was one other, but I can't even remember their name. They're very early stages. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. One more, Vedran, what's one or two features that are really unique and you think would be your competitive edge for the next year or so?
Okay, so basically I think the fundamental idea of Treblle, and I think where the stickiness is when you see the request come in. Just the fact that you can see it in real time as you are making it is probably the most powerful feature we ever had in the format that we're displaying it. The reason why I say that is because it's understandable by everybody, and you can quickly know, did everything go okay? Where's the device, where is the request coming from? What kind of request, everything okay or not? So that is number one, I think the best feature that kind of gives you more than you would expect, right? It gives you the location, it gives you the device, it gives you their performance, everything, right? So it's a lot of features in one. And the second one would definitely be the documentation aspect. I just don't think I don't know of a tool that does what we do so effectively, because when you think about these documentation tools, they're mostly tools that help you write documentation easier. We completely eliminate that need, and we're not going to stop there. We're going to work more and more on that, and we're just...
Okay, let's move on to round three. Round three is a set of relaxed, sometimes not, quick Q&A, okay? So try to be short to the point and then move on. So first, you are busy, definitely co-founder. What's your productivity hack? And again, not the tool, but the hack, way of doing things that you could share.
Try to focus on one thing at a time, just get it done and move past. Don't look for perfection, period.
Oh yes, don't look to perfection. I think this should be taught in a business school and whatever preparatory kind of years of anybody, okay? There are two extremes. So one would not do anything just because they are lazy, and another one would do nothing practical just because they are too perfectionist, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you've got a lot of things on your plate.
Okay, then a follow-up question: how do you prioritize? So you say do one thing. How do you choose among all the issues and problems or challenges? Do one.
Usually the one that either somebody's yelling you at, this needs to be completed yesterday. No, I'm joking. Well, basically, it depends on what you're doing, either what your plans are for the week, day, whatever, however you make your plans. But there are things that can wait. Usually people stress about the things that are not as important. So I think knowing actually what is important, and it's at a given time of day or a week for you, for your company, for what you're supposed to be doing is very important.
Yeah. So that's the challenge for a decision maker in a company, right? To know where to focus.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. What tools have helped you and the company progress mostly?
Trello, period.
Okay. Just because you got used to it, or because it's better than anything else on the market? Like ClickUp, what's that? Asana, Trello, all this stuff.
So we used Basecamp for ages. It was a really good product. I could have not imagined the day without it. And then Kanban boards came to life, and Trello just, first of all, when I look at products very differently, if it's really fast and really optimized from a programming perspective, I really like it. And Trello is just that. It always works. It works perfectly on every device, which is very important to us because oftentimes we're on the go or not on our computers. So we want to make sure that we can access the information. So Basecamp sucked at mobile. Essentially, we switched to Trello. It's probably the best mix of not being too corporate and still keeping things on track. I think that Asana and Jira are just way too complicated and can get out of hand quickly. And Trello is just in the middle. So we use it. I personally use it to almost organize everything in my life. And then, to the smallest task, we do it inside of Treblle as a team. Like today, I told my co-founders like Tia and Darko, just write a list of everything we need to buy for the new office, even the smallest things like from, paper clips to TVs,
Okay, yeah, great. What's the biggest challenge right now for the company's growth, you would say? Number one?
Hiring.
So people, okay, you got the funding and that's where you can open up the doors, right, to the applicants, okay? Exactly. We'll cover this later on, okay? What would you do? I mean, the company is pretty young anyways, in these 18 months or so. Is there any decision you would make it differently today knowing what you know now about the company clients program, product?
I mean, always start earlier. I mean, I told you, don't look for perfection. So essentially, we also are, not immune to that. So we waited a lot of time to get some of these things right. I would say that go out there, just, do whatever. If it works, it works. It doesn't need to be super pretty for people to understand it, to use it, to like it, to be useful, right? If you made it prettier, that's great. So we waited on some of these things, and I wish we had a faster pace than what we had. And I wish we dedicated more resources, at the beginning of last year to Treblle rather than our agency.
Oh, I see. So like this pivot, you would have done quicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay. And then you say, you also, I understand you alluded that you would have gone into the wild earlier, right? Not waiting until the product is like close to ideal MVP, let's say. And you had the privilege. I mean, you had the advantage compared to other startups because you had already your own client base, basically, that you could just ask for, like, have a look, let us know your honest, opinion and so on. You didn't do this. I mean, you did do this, right?
We did do that, but again, we waited a lot of time. We should have started on like our marketing website. The product side is okay, but we didn't dedicate a lot of time on the marketing side. The reason for that is, of course, we didn't know what our product is going to look like. And that's what I'm talking about. We should have said, okay, we're stopping with features. We're not accepting crazy features we want to do. Let's just stop with these 5 features. Let's focus on them. Let's explain them and then build out everything else in support of that. Right now, we're in a situations where we have a lot of features, but we don't have, videos explaining that. We don't have documentation that backs that. We don't have articles and setup guides. So I wish we started earlier, and I wish we limited the number of features we had because we were way, way ahead of everybody else. And, we just got to make sure people understand what we do.
To sum up, so for other founders and companies, if you have anything that might be, like even distantly liked by the market, pack it up as a simple to understand, like package. Go into the market and even like bite your tongue. Don't say about any plans, features, and so on. Sell what you have. And then when you have 10, 20 paying customers to say, and by the way, what is it? Okay.
Yeah. And it's, it's also super easy to listen to everybody's advice. Like as you bring in different people from different domains, like our primary customers at the beginning were API developers, and they had all the features they wanted. Then app developers started coming in and they were like, can we have this? Can we have that? Ooh, I would really love that. And then that's okay, right? Because that's complementary. But when you get somebody who's 100% different from developers, which is a CEO or like a product manager or an analyst, they want a completely different set of information. And they know you have the information, right? They just want it prettier in graphs and everything. And those things usually take a lot of time and distract you from what, you really should be doing.
Yeah. Non-API aborigines need graphs and visual support. Otherwise, they don't understand the language.
Yeah.
Vedran, thanks a lot. That was interesting. Let's move on to round 4, and that's in a nutshell about the company. So, company was founded January 2020. You knew coronavirus time and lockdowns come closely, and so you knew when to start working on the product, right, at the back end. Now the team is what? Vedran, Cindrić, yourself, Darko Blažević, Tia Šakić, as
it's the 3 of us for now. Yeah.
Just the 3 of you in the team?
Yeah, just the 3 of us for now.
As far as all the software and coding, programming, and all what we saw in the demo, all of this covered by you guys only?
Yeah, it's actually, the split is like this. I did everything, the platform, the software you saw. Darko did this design, and Tia does our mobile apps, which I haven't even showed you, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So now,
the perfect trio.
Wow, I mean, amazing. I mean, really. And that's a competitive edge as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to any investor and they see that all of us have a certain set of skill set that complement anybody, that is a big plus, yes.
Easy sell, yeah. And as you know, in physics, 3 points of support are the least needed and like most stable with the least number of supporting points. Cool. So you mentioned about the hiring team, hiring effort right now. Who are your most sought after people?
So yeah, that kind of it changes because I'm right now, everybody is wearing a lot of hats and everybody's doing a lot of things at once, and it's really hard sometimes to focus and stuff like that. So we're trying to first hire a bunch of developers. We're looking for full stack developers, front-end developers, and back-end developers the most, right? But immediately, or at the same time, whatever you want to call it, we're looking for salespeople and marketing. Because we have a product ready, we're ready to sell it at this stage, and we just need to get that going. Of course, being the founder, the CEO, the programmer, I'm also the person who's going to sell it. So at the moment, I'm going around and trying to sell in my spare time or whenever I have a chance. So I would like, I think if you talk to anybody who has a big business or has succeeded, they always say it's about processes, it's about getting a structure. So I think we want to get that process of setting up a sales pipeline, of setting up our developers. So it doesn't, we're not depending on me developing, on Darko designing, or Tia coding the apps. We want to be thinking about some other things, a big picture and stuff like that.
Okay, so as far as developers, full stack, backend, frontend, this almost mission impossible. Good luck with that. And we know this is difficult right now in the environment that we are, right? With everybody.
Look, I almost lost faith, but then when we announced the round and everything, we had like 10 people reach out to us. So I'm very, very pleased with that. Out of those 10, I think the split was like 6 developers and 4 salespeople. And so we're just going through those right now. But yeah, we will. I know, I understand what you mean. We will have problems with that, just like everybody else.
Yeah, but I think you have a good combo of like product and but at least potential like market product fit and all of that. And this is universal problem on the tech side.
I think go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to ask about the sales and marketing. Who will be the key target client groups for sales guys?
Yeah. So I don't want to get our cards out in the open, but essentially we've changed our logic a couple of times around that. I thought originally that we would be targeting a developer, but that has slightly changed. We are still targeting developers, But we realized that those developers actually work in software development companies, design agencies, right? So it's not the developer who's going to be paying for that project. It's mostly going to be a development agency, or a startup or a corporation, right? It's never the sole developer who we need to at the end sell. Yes, we want him to be our evangelist, but he's not going to make that decision. So we're focusing on multiple fronts. One is trying to, reach to developers, explain to them, offer them our experience, knowledge, free content, so that they realize that we're actually doing this for them and that we are one of them, which, I cannot stress this enough. We didn't build this to get an investment. We didn't build this to get rich. We built it to solve our own problems, and we're just getting started doing that. And we hope we can solve it for many, many more people. So at the end, again, the focus is a developer, but we're selling to wherever developers work, which is mostly agencies, startups, and corporations.
Yeah, you mentioned the cards that they want to keep to yourself, of course, but then you did share some cards already in your on your website, where you navigate to three clearly mentioned groups. One of them is the CEO and kind of high-level decision makers.
Exactly.
Okay, nice. As far as the recruitment process, I know you're pretty young in this area, but anyways, do you have any plans as far as the recruitment process? Would you put like tests, technical or personality as well, or you would just go by the guts and maybe reference checking?
So recently I had like a meeting with a VC who said, you got to get used to hiring and firing people. If it needs to happen on like a weekly basis, you got to do it. You will make mistakes, and that is something that I kind of always remember. Our initial process, I think the three of us are very capable of determining who is a very technical person or not. So within like sitting down with you 5 minutes, I know how much you know about development, just like 2-3 questions. I think at the beginning, given our stage, and that is the three of us, we're looking first and foremost for somebody who is going to be a team player, somebody who is gonna fit culturally with us, and somebody who shares some of the same values with us, right? That's number one. It just needs to be a good fit. When we sit down with that person, we need to click, period. And if they're not the best programmer, that's why we're here. We're here to help. If they're not the best salesperson, there is the opportunity to learn. But definitely, if we can get quality people, that is a plus. But again, just by clicking, and then I don't think we'll have problems determining who's technical or not.
Yeah, definitely. This is your domain, so nobody will go through your selection process on the tech side, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, Vedran, thanks. And now final round 5, Formula F3, as we call that, funding for the future. Okay. And a quick intro from my side. So by now you've had what, 1.2 million euro investment, and that was the seed round that you just got in July 2021. Congrats on that. And that was,
thank you.
And so your new partners on the VC side are the Nota Capital, London-based.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great fund from London.
Yeah. So just wanted to ask about the fund itself and the process, like how coronavirus friendly was the process of finalizing the talks and so on?
It was surprisingly friendly, I have to say. I mean, not just Nauta, but I think all VCs like literally made it the simplest, most effortless process ever. It is a lot of Zoom meetings. It is a lot of, meetings like this talking about the product. It does take longer because most VCs have said what we do in 15 days, we could have probably done in 2 days if we were in a room together, just bang it out. But this way, you just have a series of meetings whenever anybody can do it. And then, you decide on things. And if we like each other, we do business together. So I would say that it really wasn't. I have to mention that a lot of it came down to we attended Web Summit, and that's how we met a lot of our current investors, a lot of other investors. And they kind of made that process very easier, I guess, both for VCs and for startups. So I think we did the right thing at joining the Web Summit at last year in November. that's how this whole thing got started. And,
Okay, so Nota was also at the Web Summit, I understand. And
so basically, when you join Web Summit, you get like a startup success manager, somebody, you get a person who you talk to, you tell them what you want to achieve from Web Summit, and then they match you with a couple of other founders who are who have same goals. And one of the things that they do is they give you a intro to one of the investors. And luckily for us, actually, one of those people was Sagar from Nauta. And so we basically just jumped into a conversation about, 8 other founders, and we talked about everything, right? These are just rookie questions from startup founders. And he reached out after Web Summit, like a month after, and said, I checked out the website, I like the product, let's talk. And we started talking in January.
I don't believe it. So how many VCs have you spoken to before
So here's the thing. We had a different, I know it might be crazy to believe, but I hope all the other parties will attest to that. We actually didn't reach out to anybody. Everybody reached out to us. So we had, during Web Summit, around, I think, 8 VC companies have reached out to us. We ended up, I would say, talking seriously to 4 of them. And at the end, 3 gave us a term sheet. We decided to go with Nauta.
Okay, so you wanted to come across as a modest founder, but I didn't allow you to do so. Great, okay. So what's the plan for the next round? When? How much?
I don't know yet. We have enough for now. I don't think, never say never. We already have, people keep reaching out. At the moment, we'll see what happens, but we're set for now. I can't comment on when that would happen, how much. We did have, of course, with now some conversations about how that would look like naturally, but nothing I want to share at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay. So now the key focus would be not the payout to founders, but basically to focus on the team and hiring relevant people to scale up and grow. Yeah. Okay.
We want to do that. That's our sole key purpose for the next year, is to scale up, grow the team, and grow the product.
Yeah. Okay. How many people you plan to have by end of 2021?
By end of 2021, if we can, 10. If not, by the end of this process, we want to have at least in the next year and a half, we want to have 15 people, give or take.
Okay. If you've come thus far, being 3, difficult to imagine what places you'll go having a team of 10.
I sure hope so, and we're looking forward to kind of taking some of the burdens some of the hats that we wear right now by other team members. So we're really looking forward to that. You have to understand that I'm not an expert at sales. I might know my product best, but I'm not a sales guy, right? Neither Darko is not a financing guy. Tia is not like, I don't know, a secretary or a marketing expert as well. So we all want to do the things that we're good at, and we want to let other people do the things they're good at.
Vedran, and with this, we will wrap up. And I take my hat off for the many hats you've been wearing by now and coming thus far. All the best. Good luck with attracting eyeballs, not only from the VCs, but also from the clients more and more. And I hope to stay in touch in the meantime, and you will be sharing with us the milestones on your way to success.
Absolutely. And again, I have to say, one of the favorite articles I wrote about our round was from ITKeyMedia. So thank you guys for that. It was super funny. If you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. So thank you.
Thank you very much for this plug. Was not intended. I just want to say that's why we call people working on the article side, like media side, creative team, not journalists.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. All the best, Vedran. Bye-bye.